Unit 3, Lesson 3, Stuff You Should Know, the Kitty Genovese Story. Learning Goals. I will learn to use listening comprehension strategies to understand oral texts. Success criteria. I can make connections while listening to the podcast, identify the important information and ideas in the podcast, replay, pause, and take notes while listening to the podcast, interpret and analyze the podcast based on the guiding questions, include specific details from the podcast in my analysis. Before listening. One way to better comprehend an oral text is to activate your prior knowledge about a topic before listening. In a discussion post, answer the following questions. Who is Kitty Genovese? What happened to Kitty Genovese? And link to the discussion post is right here. Remember in your previous lesson, you read a story by the New York Times about a murder of a young girl named Kitty Genovese. This is what these questions are relating to. So, in your discussion posts, activate your prior knowledge and answer these two questions. During listening. In the previous lesson, you learned about the Kitty Genovese murder. You read through a news article that reported on these events and identified how it was biased. Now, you will listen to a podcast that shows how the original story was misrepresented. While you listen to the podcast, be sure to use some of the following strategies. Listen in a quiet area without distractions. Make predictions. What might happen next? Visualize the story in your head. Activate background knowledge about the topic. Take notes about key events and characters. Listen for specific information found in the guiding questions. Pause while listening to take notes. And rewind for clarification. This is your link for the podcast. Just simply click on it. And you would press play. And it's going to be able to play the episode for you for free. It's 38 minutes long, and trust me, it is very entertaining. After listening, answer the following questions in full sentences. Remember to include specific details from the podcast, reflect the question in the response, and proofread for spelling, grammar, and clarity. What happened to Kitty Genovese? What were some of the reasons given by the spectators for not becoming involved? Do you blame the spectators for what they did not do? Does this incident tell us anything about human nature? What impact did the death of Kitty Genovese have on society? How was Kitty Genovese's story misrepresented by the New York Times? Who killed Kitty Genovese? How was he caught? Do you feel that there should be laws requiring citizens to come to another person's aid? How is this case story similar to On the Sidewalk Bleeding? What lessons can we learn from this story? One strategy that will help you answer these questions is looking at the questions or having the questions printed beside you while you listen to the podcast. As you come across each of these answers, pause the podcast and fill out each question. Remember to include specific details from the podcast. Submit your responses using the following link right here. Each question should be numbered. Each question should have a specific detail in it from the podcast, and each question should be proofread for spelling, grammar, and clarity. These questions or these responses are being assessed. Good luck!